Hi, and welcome back to the start of another reading vlog. This is the vlog that starts off my massive challenge month, something that I'm really excited about, even though work life is stressful. You know, I decided to go ahead and start this tonight just because I wanted to do it, and I wanted to talk about books, and I wanted to focus on books, and I wanted to get my mind off of the nonsense that is what happened with my sub, because I'm supposed to go to YIG, Youth and Government Conference, this weekend. Non-elite advisor. Glad that weight has not been on my plate. Get a text from my admin that the job is open. Okay, that's weird. I had a confirmed sub. So I reach out to that sub, you know, text him back, like, hey, there's this little mix-up, blah, blah, blah. We'll get it sorted out, and I have to cancel the job, add him back on, make a new job, basically. So I was already dealing with that, and then he texts and says, I was just looking at your website and saw that you teach freshman CP, which is like the lowest level. It's supposed to be college prep. And frankly, I'm surprised that I agreed to do this job, and I just can't do it, so I've gone ahead and canceled it. I've got 3 days before this is supposed to start, and I text back and like, this is really leaving me in the lurch, and just want to let you know that all that you would have been doing is watching them take a test and then watching them do their vocab. And he texts back and is basically like, I'm so sorry that this has left you, all caps, in the lurch. I just got out of the hospital yesterday. I was supposed to know that, but it just was a big nightmare, just dealing with that and the unsettling and just taking up time. And I'm just like, all I want to do with my life is just be able to go to work, do my job, work with these kids, and like come home and read. And yet all of these little administrative type stuff gets in the way, like works its way in and becomes this irritant that causes a much bigger problem. And I'm just so sick of this stupid ridiculousness of the hoops I have to jump through for the class, of me being responsible for finding a sub on short notice when it's not my fault, and like the fact that I should have to find someone to cover for my class. So welcome to another reading vlog, and the fact that I am a teacher in this reading vlog. So who knows? I may or may not go to YIG, because a big part of me is just like, hey, you know, if I just don't go, I don't have to worry about a sub. I don't have to worry about getting things prepped and ready. I have that planning time to work on stuff at school. I don't know whether or not I'll end up going. I still want to read. It's still really something that provides self-care and that I'm going to do, and I'm not going to put pressure on myself right now for the extra goals that I wanted to reach. I just am going to focus on the reading and enjoying the reading. And for that reason, these are the books that I have chosen for this week. So first off, I'm going to read a little bit more tonight because I just read a few pages. I already really enjoy it because Darius, the main character, has named, I guess, like the percolator, so like the steam pot or whatever he's working with at his tea shop, Smog. And I already love the way he's talking about that. So I'm looking forward to this. And I definitely will be finishing this tomorrow because I want to finish this in October. And then as for the other books that I'm going to bring with me and read throughout the week, bring with me as in if I go to YIG, who knows. I've got the second Tristan Strong book, got Beasts of Prey, and Ace of Spades. I looked at the physical books that I had. I'm like, these are the ones I want to read, and if I want to read them, I'm gonna read them. Okay, so I just filmed, well not just, but earlier today I filmed my Fairy Loot unboxing, which that'll go up relatively soon, either right before or right after this vlog, and everything was already set up here, so I just decided to do my update here. I am halfway, literally halfway, I stayed up a little bit later last night to get to the halfway point so I could make sure to finish it today, because today is October 31st. I'm going to finish this so I can finish my TBR. But it's not a chore to finish. I would have finished it in one day if I'd had enough time. It's that good. I really, really enjoy this book. The way that Coram is characterizing Darius, the stuff that he's dealing with, Darius feels like such a real person. He's dealing with the fact that he is what he calls fractional Iranian or fractional Persian, because he's half Persian, and he deals with the Teutonic masculinity of his dad, you know, the strong blonde hair, blue-eyedness. So he's dealing with that. He's dealing with the fact that he has clinical depression and takes medication for it. He's also dealing with the fact that they go back to Iran. Well, it's his first time going back. It is his first time going. His mom is going back. And the idea in Iran that, you know, depression is not something like a real thing that people talk about. And it's just like, oh, just get over it. Okay, so those are the two big things that he's dealing with. But he meets this neighbor boy, and he's also trying to figure out life, like dealing with like this new person. Coram explores a lot of stuff in this book, and stuff is such a generic word, but there's just so much that he talks about. And so one of the things involves the neighbor, and I think that's either the dad or the neighbor. I don't know, because it's the back of their heads. He actually goes and plays soccer with his friend and two other boys. I remember the other thing I was trying to think about earlier, things that he's dealing with, is the religion, because I don't think that his family is Muslim. I think that they're Sikh, but I'm not sure. But the friend that he meets is Baha'i, and the Baha'i faith did originate in that area of the world, but obviously it's looked down upon, and the friend is teased about it. So Darius goes and plays soccer with the friend, and he's not athletically gifted. He talks about being overweight, but he knows how to play. And then the friend's like, aren't you going to shower? Afterwards, he's like, yeah, I'm kind of sweaty and messy. And then they go to the showers, and there's no like stalls for the showers. There's no coverings. It's all open. And because he is not circumcised, like, this is something different for them. One of the other friends makes fun of Darius for that. And of course, Darius runs home in utter shame. And he thinks that this new friend was making fun of him and was just as bad as all the other bullies back home. But he's gotten to this point where the friend comes over and is genuinely apologizing for it. And he's talking about the fact that he feels really bad because he knows he did wrong, but he wasn't the target of that other person. And because he wasn't the target, he went along with the teasing. So powerful. I cannot wait to finish the rest of this book tonight, which means, I had to do some stupid school stuff. No further update on the whole sub thing, really. Things haven't been decided. I was going to just go ahead and stay home, but my admin was like, hey, we'll make it work. I'm so sorry this happened. One positive note though, so there's co-chairs of the social studies department, and both of them are part of leading YIG, and one of them emailed me separately and was like, hey, what's the name of that sub? I want to make sure that I don't hire him. So that was just nice to hear that, like, oh, yay, I'm being supported. It's something small, but it's so meaningful. I'm going to do a brief haul of 2 books that I got that I'm not going to count as books. So I'm not going to do them in my book buying bingo, but I did just want to show them. I got them on Thrift Books. One of them I've already opened, but I have now completed one of my Lord of the Rings sets. This one is in not so great shape, but hey, it counts as this edition. This is the one that I got. It matches that edition that I got at the used bookstore. So now I have another complete edition of the books, and I have to figure out how to
put them on the shelves. Who knows how I'm gonna manage that. Because these are collectibles to me, I'm not counting them as books that I'm buying, even though they are books, obviously. So there's my excuse. Okay, just doing a late night update just because I have to talk about this right now. I just finished Darius the Great Is Not Okay. So finished my TBR. One of the best books I read all month. Probably one of the best books I've read all year. This is amazing. I'll give more detailed thoughts later, but just the way that the author deals with mental illness and how Darius is processing things and how he's learning things about his family, but also about himself and relationships. It's just such an amazing book. And it's really hard to put it into words as to why it's so amazing. But honestly though, this book might make my top 10 of the year. Okay, so my update is coming from over here because this is where I'm unboxing it. I'm just so excited. I'm actually excited about this LitJoy box. It's a one-off box. I wish they do a subscription for it. There's so much stuff, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Quick, before I get into the unboxing, it's been determined I'm not going to go to Yig this weekend, which takes a huge weight off of my shoulders. I'm not glad that I'm not going, but in the sense that it just was a lot going on. I'm glad that it's been resolved. I have to deal with the kids for those days, but it was a lot today. It was just a lot today because, oh my word, Halloween is a nightmare. I'm gonna go fix the lighting. Okay, so hopefully the lighting's better. It's starting to get dark out, but yesterday was Halloween and I thought younger kids would be more affected by Halloween than high schoolers, but wow, they were just on another level today and I was just so stressed. So it was nice to have that decision made and off my plate. Now, I'm getting really excited about what I'm seeing right here. Reading update. I am going to each day of November, the next day, so like today's the 1st, I'll have to finish this in a minute, my mom's calling me. Okay, so take number 3 at reading update. What I'm gonna do, the next day, I'm going to give a progress update on my NaNoWriMo goal and see how far I'm progressing. I'm going to count my audiobook listening as pages for this as well because that'll make things obviously a lot more doable. And I created a document this morning with a tracking bar in it even, and I'm so proud that I figured out the formula. Well, figured out how to Google the formula. But I'll probably include a, image or something when I have that. So far, what I've tracked is 27 pages, but I listened to a lot of it, a lot of Blood of Dragons this afternoon while I was on my run, which I ended up cutting short because it was just so much. It was just so much and my body was like, I'm done. I'm like, okay, we're done. And now I get to unbox something that I'm so excited about. This update is probably all over the place, but I wasn't gonna film this, but then I got this first item out and I'm just so excited about it. Okay, so this is Lord of the Rings themed, as I mentioned. I thought at first, this is a blanket. No, it's not a blanket. It's an actual elven cloak. Like, I'm just so excited about it. I'm such a nerd. Okay, am I gonna keep this on for the rest of the update? Yes. This is so cool. Now I have another costume. Okay, so next thing that we see is there's a pen. Not necessarily fussed about a pen because I do tend to lose pens, although the one pen that I've been using this semester, I have not lost yet. On this pen, it's got a little plastic thing on it. Let me see if I can get that off. Okay, this pen says, the beacons are in Gondor calls for and. Is this a light? It is. It's a light. Okay, so Gondor calls for aid. I can read sometimes. I'm like, how is that finishing the sentence? Okay, so I think, yeah, you twist it and it has this and there's that. Probably my least favorite, but it is kind of cool that, the beacons are lit and you've got a flashlight. So that's the next item. This one says it is a candle lantern and just look at that imagery. So cool. Okay, it is wrapped Okay, I'm kind of excited about this. Oh, so you would put a tea light in it, and that imagery that was on the box, it'll glow with that imagery. It's really hard to see, but you've got the Eye of Sauron and you've got the riders. It's so, that is so cool. Yeah, it is the same imagery that's on the box. Okay, I like that. Next item is heavy in this box. It's got the poem about all of the rings. This coat is so soft. It's like kind of the coolest thing to snuggle up in. What on earth? It's a giant ring. It's a giant metal tray. Oh my word, look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. I have no idea what I would use it for, but wow, it is so gorgeous. Okay, obviously I'm gonna look at the spoiler card at the end to see what they all are. Next box, nice black box, and I'll be back because my mom's calling again. Okay, so let's keep going. Another box here. Another nice black box. Seems to be well packaged. Lift it up. It's a Sting replica. Oh, that is gorgeous. Look at that. Oh my word. Of course they had to do a Sting replica. I like that one. Okay, next box. This one's heavy. Nice green box. Oh, this is the, I can't think of the name of it, but look at this. Oh, that is so gorgeous. And it's beautifully packaged. It has to do with Galadriel, and I don't know why. I'm like a fake fan, not actually a fake fan. Love this. All right, next looks like a journal of some sort. Oh, that is so cool. I love that idea. So it's the red book of There and Back Again that Bilbo makes. And inside, oh, it's an unlined, it's like a sketchbook type. We've got some paper products. Okay, so we've got, oh, Justice for Tom Bombadil. Some people don't like Tom Bombadil. I like Tom Bombadil. This illustration of an Ent. Oh wow, just look at that. That is gorgeous. And then of course we have the Nazgul. But that illustration of the Ent, I love that. Okay, and we've got probably a woodmark in here. Oh my word, this has gotta be the best bookmark ever. It's Merry and Pippin sitting in Treebeard's branches. Like, how could it get any better than that? And I've gotta hurry because the battery is about to die. But it's double-sided. Oh, that is amazing. I don't think I can actually use that as a bookmark because it's too precious. And we've got one last thing in here that looks significant. Looks like a book pot of some sort, but oh my word, look at that. The Fellowship. I think it's one of their metal book tins. It's interesting because they didn't use the actors. No, I forgot. They did pins. They did pins and put them in here. Look at these pins. Oh my word. I'm so glad that I saved this for last. This is amazing. This is amazing. Gotta be one of the coolest things ever. A couple lackluster items. Obviously my least favorite is the pen. But let's see what the things that I couldn't remember. The battery may die. We've got the Halfling Travel Cloak. That's this. The 9-race candle lantern. That seems so cool. There and Back Again notebook. Beacons are lit. Light up pen. Seriously, that's what they do for Gondor and for Rohan. They didn't have anything specifically for Rohan. Okay. Fellowship book tin with location enamel pins. Justice for Tom Bombadil sticker. Ring trinket dish. Okay, so it's just a trinket dish, but it's gorgeous. I love it. Tree adventure card. Starlight vial. Okay, so it's the starlight that Galadriel has, and she gives it's the gift that she gives Frodo. Oh my word, it's the gift that she gives Frodo. It's the light in the darkness that helps him. Okay, I don't know why I forgot that. the Sting letter opener. Yeah, it's a letter opener. I'm not using it as a letter opener. 9 Race Adventure card, and then the Forest Woodmark. This was hands down an amazing box, and I'm gonna stay in my traveling cloak for the rest of the night. Okay, battery's still about to die, but I just had to come on because I discovered it lights up. It lights up. I love this box. Okay, so we made it to Thursday morning. It's so nice to not be rushing around for Yig. I really like that. It was a little weird yesterday because I had morning duty on Wednesdays, and I'm down where they come in, like, if they're dropped off by car. And there were several kids coming in with suitcases. I'm like, oh yeah, I was gonna go on that. But I don't actually mind. So, like, I would have liked to go, but not going, still totally fine. Okay, so this update's gonna be a little bit longer because I have a lot to talk about. And that's because I didn't get to update yesterday on Wednesday. I just plain ran out of time. And I'm reading a lot. Okay, lighting adjusted. I just switched over on my computer to the tab with my NaNoWriMo progress, and then I'm gonna switch back to the other one. So I'm a little bit behind. Starting out the month, to get to 15,000 pages, I needed to read 500 pages a day. I knew that I probably would not be able to get to that until the weekend, and maybe make up for that, just because during the week it's not likely to happen. And I'm not reading 500 pages physically. I am counting audiobook in here, and I decided to switch my listening time from podcasts, like during my run and etc., to the audiobooks so that I can get all of that done. So on Tuesday, which was the first of the month, I read 369 pages. That's about 131 pages short. And then yesterday, I almost got to 500, and I got to 487. So I'm not that far behind, thankfully, to yesterday. I have read about, as you can see on the screen, I'll put that up there. I've read about 5.71%, which is almost 6%, and I'm only 150-ish pages short, which should be easy enough to make up. We'll see tomorrow. I don't think today or tomorrow I'll be able to get above 500. So I might be closer to 200 pages short when it gets to the weekend, but that's not going to be a problem because I have a long weekend. I have Monday off because it's teacher work day, music exchange day, and Tuesday is election day. So we don't have school. Doing okay so far. I also have this pages per day needed. I did some formulas. So right now it's at 505 for my total pages needed. So I am a little bit above that, but not too bad. Okay, going back to a different tab. Okay, so the lighting should be better now. Now to talk about the books that I've read. I'm going to start off with the physical book that I read. I read it half on Tuesday, the 1st, and half on yesterday, Wednesday, the 2nd. And I had 3 books that I wanted to read, and I couldn't decide. So I took a picture and I sent it to my mom, like, hey, which one should I read? And she chose the one that I probably wouldn't have chosen for myself, which is Ace of Spades. And I'm glad I read it. Sorry, it's a little sticky down here because I took the sticker off, and I don't like stickers on the books. Ace of Spades. So going into it, people had mentioned some stuff about it. It's more like, what's the, I don't know. It's more like thriller type and mystery and suspense, sort of dark academia for sure. And the way that people had described it, I really thought that both of these characters were girls. And partially I didn't like look too closely at the figure at the bottom, and also it's upside down. And when I first read Devon's perspective, I thought it was a girl. And then something happened in, I think, Chiamaka's perspective, where they started using male pronouns. I'm like, oh, Devon's a guy. Okay, so the premise for Ace of Spades is there are these 2 students, Chiamaka and Devon, who attend this really prestigious academy, and they're both really smart. She's like head prefect and everything, but they are the only black students. They're seniors and they're about to succeed with everything. Devon has tried to fly under the radar. Chiamaka is like leading everything. And then this thing comes up where Aces starts publicly putting out all of these secrets. And life takes a spiral and it goes really downhill. And the whole time I was reading it, I'm like, I'm waiting for one or both of the narrators to be revealed as an unreliable narrator. Because it just felt like that sort of setup, like something is going to be revealed and, oh wow, this is what's going on. Maybe mild spoiler, it's not unreliable narrator, which I'm thankful for. Because I'm not a fan of unreliable narrator. I know it can be done well. I just don't like being in a character's head for so long and then, oh, what I told you was not actually true. I made it all up. There was other stuff going on in my head. I don't like unreliable narrators. I think it's a cheap shot from authors to readers. As I say that, so I'm glad that it wasn't an unreliable narrator. That would have lowered my rating. This is not necessarily my type of book. This is not the type of book that I read a lot. Even though it's contemporary fiction, supposed to be realistic, it's stretched the suspension of disbelief a lot for me. And there were scenarios and things that were going on, and the way that the conniving villain Aces all like was unveiled towards the end, I was like, that seems very comic book, ha ha ha, gotcha villain sort of thing. And I just was kind of like, really? Okay. I haven't put it through COPPA yet. I just finished it last night. I'm glad I read it. I think it will probably rank as a low 4-star for me, which is a really good read for me. And I probably will hold on to it. It's definitely not my typical genre. And I like pushing myself to consume things of other genres. Oh, it was also a very quick, easy read, fairly enjoyable, well-written narrative. I do appreciate that. Now for audiobooks. And I have now finished the Rainwild Chronicles with the Blood of Dragons. It took me a while to put my finger on what exactly was bringing down Blood of Dragons after City of Dragons. I think that City of Dragons is my favorite out of the 4 Rainwild Chronicles books. I loved City of Dragons. I thought that the world was expanded really well. I thought it breathed a breath of fresh air into it. Blood of Dragons, what I think I figured out is there were too many threads that Hobb was following. And so by the time you're getting to the end, you go back to these other perspectives and you just don't get to spend enough time in those perspectives. Like Selden's perspective and what was going on there was really important. And there was a whole relationship and idea built up with Chassim, the Duke of Chalfed's daughter, her interaction with Selden. Just the way that it wrapped up, I think didn't do as good of a job because there were too many threads for Hobb to wrap up at this section. And it just felt a little like, let me tie this in a bow. Like the whole battle for Calcid? Really? Okay. But there were, I will say, moments that I loved. Like how Hest's character arc ended. I loved it. I loved it. Now, of course, I'd looked on the wiki and I knew kind of what was coming. I loved his end. Totally fitting. And then like scenes with the different relationships at the end and the wrap up and this final scene between Tats and Thymara. Oh, that was amazing. I'm like, yay! Because I'm listening to it on my run. I'm just kind of like, yes! Oh, the final confrontation between Cedric and Hest. Oh, that was so good. So good. There was a scene between where Hest is revealing himself and trying to spin his way and get Alice back. Not because he cares about her, obviously. And the way that Alice stood up for herself. And then he's like trying to doubt her and bring her down. And Cedric steps up. I'm like, yes. Oh, Cedric's character arc. So good. So it's not like I hated the book. There was too much in there for one novel. I think it would have been really well to be a little bit pared back. And I think at some points the Live Ship Trader series was also like that. A lot of threads. Which is why I think it's such a relief to now be back in Fitz's head.
because I started listening to Fool's Assassin. I love coming back to the Six Duchies and being with Fitz and seeing how his life is progressing. It's definitely nowhere near as depressing a start to this trilogy as the start to Fool's Fate was. Fool's Errand. Fool's Fate's the end. Fool's Errand was in the 20-Man trilogy. Nowhere near as depressing a start. And so I'm really enjoying that. So there we go. Long update. This update is already at 12 minutes. So I need to finish some stuff. I knew it was going to be a long update. Hopefully tomorrow won't be as long. But some of these updates are going to be more like mini reviews because I'm reading so much. Good morning. We've gotten to Saturday morning. I didn't end up recording yesterday because I went over to my mom's and stepdad's because we're going to Hilton Head a little bit later today for the half marathon. And that meant I ended up reading less because I didn't listen to an audiobook while I cross-stitched. We watched a movie. I did manage to finish Tristan Strong Destroys the World. That bookmark's in there just so I can preserve the bookmark. I have finished it. And at first I was thinking, oh man, is it going to live up to how good the first one was? And then I remembered, especially as I got towards the end, how much it all comes together in the end. At least the first one did as well. And then it shines a light on other things going on in the book. And this book did the exact same thing. Of course, you didn't have the same reveal as to who the antagonist was that you did in the first one, because obviously that was revealed in the first book. But the way things were coming together with some of the reveals and how things ended and how he's growing as a person because he's dealing with his trauma. He dealt with the guilt that he felt over not saving his friend. He dealt with it in the first book. And it's not like he doesn't feel it anymore, but having gone through that experience and learning from it, he's able to see it in others, which is a big point in this book. Again, I really enjoyed it. And Kwame Mbalia does some really significant things with a middle grade book that is just so important. And the way that he centers stories, I absolutely love. These characters, like the central part to this is the stories. Telling the stories, remembering the people, understanding them. These are people whose stories aren't told a lot, which is what was one of those powerful things in there. And then talking about one of the things I talk about is the diaspora. And when you think about the difference, like how the stories come together and how Tristan ends up knowing them, because the mythological heroes in here are both people like John Henry and Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox, but they're also Anansi and Ayami and all these other, like, actually West African gods, but also African American folktales, and bringing that together and talking about how much a part of the story the diaspora is and how these things spread is just fantastic. So again, really love this, and I need to find the third book in paperback so all my copies can match. Although I could just take this into my classroom and try to find all the hardbacks. Who knows? But I definitely need to read the third one. So I'm far behind because I read only about 300 some pages yesterday. But I wanted to give an update on my audiobook because I'm listening to Fool's Assassin. I can never remember the names of these. It's the first and the last trilogy. And this story is very character driven. There's hardly any plot, but it's all about how these characters move, and you grow to understand them more. And it's Fitz in his old age. And for the first time in any of the Fitz trilogies, you get another perspective. Some people have talked about how they understand why the other perspective is in there, but they're not a fan of it. I actually really like it. And I've discovered that about a lot of the different Farseer and Realm of the Elderlings things, that my opinion tends to run contrary. Usually in the positive, which is good. I think it was really helpful because
I mean, not that that many people watch my thing, but spoiler, I'll put spoiler on the screen. When Molly dies, I think it was really helpful for us to be in the other perspective when Fitz finds her, because there's so much trauma and grief that Fitz has been in, and he's shown that he doesn't necessarily narrate that well and understand it all that well first person. I think it was so much more powerful to have that from B's perspective. And spoilers. I think that made that particular scene bearable and understandable and more impactful. I know that other things are going to come into play, obviously, because you have a trilogy, but this book is definitely set up. But I'm enjoying it more than Fool's Errand, which was the setup for the second Fitz trilogy. There's just a lot going on, and there's a lot of passage of time. But things are getting woven in, and you see the long-term effects of things, and you don't often see that with characters. You're with them for such a small period of their life that you don't often see how things play out over years, which is something that not that many series do you get to see. So I probably will finish that relatively soon, comparatively, because I have a few days off coming up, which is really nice. But that does mean that probably not in this vlog, because when I get back from Hilton Head tomorrow, I'm gonna have to do dumb school stuff because I haven't had a chance for some of the stuff. Starting Monday, the book that I'm going to start with is Oathbringer, and I get to dive back into that. And because I have most of those 2 days off, I do have a dentist appointment, I'm going to try to tackle the whole book in 2 days. I am going to go read. I brought my Kindle with me so I can read 2 of the arcs, and if I finish those, then I'll read another one of the arcs, but I don't think I'll finish it. Good morning. It is Sunday morning. I almost said Saturday. We're getting ready for our race, but I figured that I would update because I didn't update yesterday evening. Once we got here to Hilton Head, I finished another book, started and finished another book. I think that's going to end up being the case a lot in November since I'm trying to read so many books. And that book was Solito by Javier Zamora, I think is his last name if I remember correctly. This is his memoir, and I was eagerly anticipating it, and it did not disappoint. No, when I say that I'm eagerly anticipating it, it is definitely something that was not easy at all. In this story, he's telling about his journey as a 9-year-old from El Salvador to the United States. There's so much that he goes through. There's so much reality that he had to face as a 9-year-old going through on his own. Like, his grandfather was able to come with him into Guatemala, but he wasn't going with him further on the journey. And so he tried to get a certain person who was from their town to look out for him, but it ended up being other people who took care of him, and a new family that he got, which is very fortunate that he did because so much happened. I definitely think that this is worth reading and should be read, and I probably will get a physical copy of this as well. That's how I spent the rest of my evening yesterday, was starting and finishing that book. Thus, I didn't update. As far as audiobooks, I went ahead and, because I was writing with Mom, started a new audiobook instead of picking up halfway through Fool's Assassin, and it was a book on my TBR, and that is Empire of Pain, the book by Patrick Radden Keefe, which is a story of the Sackler family, who is, I think they still are, the owners of Purdue Pharma, who produced OxyContin. And a lot of people talk about are some of the, I guess they're, they say that they're at fault for a lot of the opioid crisis, especially like their advertising. And we are still in the part where it's a biography of the family, but it is absolutely fascinating to look at the different things that the members of the family do, and how they built their wealth and how they operated as people. I remember listening to a review from Mara at Books Like Will, and how I forget what she ended up rating it. It was high, but not like super high, because she thought it did a good thing, but she was expecting more of the business side of it, more of the actual the OxyContin story. And the first part of this book is really a story of the family, but I think it's really hard to understand the story of what happened with OxyContin without understanding the family. And I think that understanding the story of the family and how everything developed with them is really important to understand how they went ahead and marketed OxyContin as they did and things like that. So I'm not sure how far we'll get on the drive back later today, but I probably will just go ahead and finish it and then pick up Fool's Assassin tomorrow. And, you know, not in a big town or anything, but you can probably hear the siren going by. So I'm going to finish this update. Oh, I did also start another book yesterday. Yesterday I did actually make my goal of over 500 pages. I think I got over 600, but I did start another book, and it is, I don't think it's a Rick Riordan imprint because nothing on the page, it's an arc. I ended up realizing that I couldn't get the other arc on my list on my Kindle because it's one of those ones that doesn't deliver to Kindle. So I just picked another one, and it's a middle grade. It's in that style though. And part of me thinks that it is a Rick Riordan imprints book, but it's just not like on the cover or anything of the arc because of the style of it. But I'm really enjoying it. So this one is based on Japanese mythology. This girl, Momo, has to go basically rescue her mother's island. Like, she's discovered that her mother is a kami, is a goddess. And all of these things that she told her were true, you know, as stories, were actually true. And she has to go rescue her island, even though her mom wants to keep her safe and says, no, you can't go there. And so she's going with this fox. It's not a 9-tailed fox. He has only one tail. And a friend of hers. And what I love is that these characters are actually acting like they're 12. They're not acting aged up. Because this one character that she's with is someone who became popular and used to be her friend, but now sort of isn't because he doesn't want to be teased. But he can see the spirit realm, and he's going along with them. But just some of the things that he has said and some of the actions that he has taken, because, you know, I've experienced teaching 7th grade. I look at it and I go, yeah, that sounds like a 7th grader. So I'm about 20% into that. I'll definitely be finishing that today. And when I get back, I will probably pick up Beasts of Prey as a physical copy, because that's the other book I have on my TBR physically. I think I have one other physical arc that I want to get to, but I want to have a fiction book to contrast the nonfiction that I'm listening to on audiobook. So this update has gone long enough, and I'm going to finish getting ready for the race and probably update you tomorrow, because as soon as I get back today, I have to do all sorts of the stupid class stuff and get that done because the deadline is all today, and I haven't really done anything on it.
Okay, so we have reached Sunday evening and time to wrap up the vlog. I had a really good reading week this week, even though other life stuff seemed to get in the way. I managed to read 3 physical books, 1 audiobook, like 70% of 2 other audiobooks, and 2 ebooks. So not too shabby. I won't have all that much to hold up, but physically I read Ace of Spades and Tristan Strong. I'm trying to think, because I think there was something I finished on Monday. Ah, yes, that's right. Had to go grab it. I forgot that I finished this on Monday, which was still part of October. A really, really good reading week. I did just finish Momo Arashami and something. I don't remember what else is part of that. Let me check. Okay, it's Momo Arashami Steals the Sword of the Wind.
This book seems like it would fall perfectly into a Rick Riordan Presents imprint book. It's definitely that style. It's very much that style, but it's a different publisher. I don't remember the publisher, but I think out of all of the ones that I've read, save perhaps the Tristan Strong series, this is my favorite, including the Percy Jackson ones and the Trials of Apollo and Heroes of Olympus and etc. This is just so well done. The way that the author characterized the main character and her friend who went along on the journey, it fit so perfectly for the age group. There's been very few middle grade books that, to me, capture actual middle grade students, and I don't think that I would know necessarily if I hadn't spent 7 years teaching middle school. So I think she tackled so much and did it so well with this book. I'm so excited to read the sequels, and I definitely will be purchasing a physical copy of this one. There's a lot of complicated stuff, emotional stuff, and like ideas about bullying and why someone would change their identity, because her friend Danny is also Japanese, but he's adopted and his parents are white. They sort of not force him into it, but it's the idea of they don't see color, and so he gets rid of all of this other things that he's learning with Momo and her mother. It's just really profound how she deals with that, and him dealing with the consequences of having betrayed Momo in the past to try to make himself popular. It's well done. So before I go to bed tonight, because I cross-stitched on the way home, I'm not gonna listen to more audiobook tonight. I'm gonna read Beasts of Prey, or start it. I'm not gonna finish it tonight. And then I haven't decided whether or not I'll finish it tomorrow, because tomorrow starts my journey in hopefully reading the entirety of Oathbringer in 2 days. We shall see if I can manage that. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.